lived in Edinburgh a long time?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Ben was born here.
Yes, educated and then off to Aberdeen, back down here. We had a practice in Ainsley Place, it's business psychology, and so now we're retired, very happy.
Working in the garden.
Yeah.
My garden's never looked so good since lockdown.
Can I ask
Yeah.
which area of Edinburgh you live in, roughly?
We live on just by the Dean Bridge.
And have you lived there for quite a long time, or?
Over 20 years.
25, 26
25,
years.
26 years, yes.
So just ask where you guys are going, please.
Just wherever.
Yeah.
We're just here for a day out.
Oh, cool. So you just what time did you get in?
About half hour ago.
Half hour ago.
Yeah.
Cool. Just walking down. Cool. Did you have any? Do you just like got sick of Glasgow as well?
Yeah, just wanted the scenery and something to see what was going on.
Can I ask what you guys do for a living?
I'm working at dog kennels. At dog kennels, yeah.
I think you were just on your cigarette break. Yes.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Okay. Do you work here?
I do.
Yeah. Have you worked here for quite some time?
Best part of 50 years.
50 years. Excellent. So would it be correct to say that you own this shop? Is that right?
Close.
Okay.
What, sorry?
What's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life, I think. Some would say it's to create a meaning in life, but to me there is no meaning in life. I think because human beings, the only animal that complicates its own life and tries to find a meaning, but there's no meaning, it's just need to exist, I think.
That gets quite complicated. When I hadn't been long in doing my jewellery, as you'll see, Thistle Street was derelict, and some very clever, top-notch dealers in antiques bought up premises every time they came up and wanted to copy London and turn it into a shopping destination for antiques. And they were very much the real thing. They didn't really like Victorian stuff, it was a bit too recent, honestly. But they really pulled the street up, and I was fortunate to be asked to come in with them. They were specialists in antique glass and brown furniture, as it's now called. And it was brand new, there was nothing like it. I shouldn't have thought in Scotland then. So now, as they really retired or died, interestingly, the empty shops have been taken up, quite a few, with fashion shops, so that sits well with me. I didn't mind that at all.
I lived in Australia for 8 years, yeah.
And how did you find that?
I loved Melbourne, I thought it was super. But as an immigrant, I didn't have any family there. And eventually, the lack of that depth brought me home. After my father died, in fact, he died very suddenly, and I couldn't settle then. Because when you're young, you think everything's going on the same. And when you're older, you know it's not.
I collapsed with exhaustion when I worked briefly in the oil business. I was flown back to the UK, and I bought a very small flat, top floor in Company Bank Avenue. And then I moved closer and closer to the West End, up the Dean Bridge.
Really, closer and closer to Drumshoe
Park. That's the real reason.
Nice.
I swim there every day.
Yeah, I was in India before, in Goa, and I went to a place called Turtle Beach. It was about a couple of miles away from the hotel, and I got lost. And I was freaking out, and I was asking locals like how I get back to Goa, and nobody could speak English.
Drumshoe Baths was founded in 1882 in fact, and it's a private swimming club, and I've been a member there since I came back to Edinburgh.
When was the last of the antique shops on the street?
I would guess 20 years ago. It's a guess.
Can I ask what you wanted to do as a child?
I like creative stuff.
Was there something you were inspired by particularly?
I don't think there was, but I enjoyed, I was very lucky that when I went out of small kids school to the other one, it was one of the first ones that you could have in Dunfermline in Fife. You could almost choose your curriculum. There wasn't any, you have to do this, you have to do that. So I spent most of my school days in the art room.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
I never was aware of really wanting to do everything. I was a kind of dreamy child who, you know, my best friend was Christian. I was Protestant. I am Protestant. She was Roman Catholic. So we'd go to our own churches in the morning, and in the evening we'd go to mine, hers, or the Church of England. So we didn't know it, but we were broadening our horizons anyway. Yeah. But I don't think I had any great ambitions. Ben did.
I mentioned my dad was in the Fleet Air Arm in the Navy. We moved into a little house on the south side of Edinburgh, and I was standing in the garden. I must have been about 4 or 5 years old, and these boys were at the garden fence saying, "What football team do you support?" And I said, "The Royal Navy." So I knew nothing about football in Edinburgh. And then they said, "Do you support Hibs or Hearts?" And I must have given the wrong answer, because life after that was interesting. Coming back from school, I had to find different ways to get round back to my house.
Yes, but you were in an area which was very mixed.
Yeah.
And council and whatever. And then went to Harriet's.
Yeah.
And that never kind of endears you.
A few people with school uniforms. But what I wanted to do as I progressed through life, I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Fleet Air Arm, and then after that I wanted to be a sculptor. I won the prize at school for art, and my parents dissuaded me from that. Mum said, "Dear, you can't live in a garret." That would have been okay at my age, 19 or 20, have lots of fun in a garret. But I moved into architecture, and I was advised to give up the course after 3 years. So I moved over to psychology, and that is when my brain exploded, and I really enjoyed life after that. I realized I could study and I could learn and I could make things happen.
The meaning of life.
Well, I think it is to do whatever you feel is right for you and what you enjoy, rather than doing what you feel you have to, all these imperatives, and be a good person. Whatever you do, doesn't matter if you're a cook or a politician or whatever, especially a politician, you've got to be a good person, which we had a few more.
Ben's father was a schoolmaster eventually, and one of his boys, his father was a road sweeper, or as they say in Scotland, a scaffy.
Yes.
Yeah?
He was sitting in the class crying, and my father was actually an ex-naval officer, but he took teaching qualifications towards the end of his career. He said, "What's the matter with you, lad?" "They're laughing at me, sir." "Oh yes, why are they laughing at you?" "They're laughing at me because my dad's a scaffy." "I see. Is your dad a good scaffy?" "Oh yes, sir." "There you are then, lad." And the wee chap's shoulders went back and he sat up again.
How do you feel about the direction of the human race?
a bit concerned about the top end, as we call it, or the money men, and
Yes.
concerned about the billions that are going in one direction, because it doesn't leave enough for the poor people, and it's the poor who will lose out completely. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of wars are fought because of politics and greed or religion, and it's funny how all the religions of the world seem to preach on giving to the poor and being kind to people and so forth, and yet when it comes to fighting amongst themselves it gets rather tragic, and I think we're all going to hell in a handcart unless we sort ourselves out, and that's quite easy. I also think we should have more women heading up governments, as opposed to Margaret Thatcher. But
Not her.
not her. But I think Nicola Sturgeon's doing a fantastic job for Scotland. I really do. And Boris Johnson, rather like Boris.
Oh, no.
He's like Trump in a way. Great orators, able to whip up the crowds and enthusiasm, but not very practical.
The human race. They're there.
Just now I love working in the dog kennels, but I'm at college just now doing art. I want to become a tattooist because I love art and drawing and painting.
How do you feel about the direction of the country then?
Well, we
Which
would.
country do you mean?
Do you mean Scotland?
You mean Scotland?
Or
I guess
the UK?
both UK, Scotland.
Well, I think it's dividing up. Wales, Ireland, Scotland, England. I think England will have to form its own nation very soon. I'm really hoping that Scotland will do that even sooner.
It's very sad. My father was an Englishman. We never had a problem. But when you start dividing and being divisive, then there's only one way for that to go.
My own personal view is that I've been down to England many times, both socially and working, that the English are rather frightened of us, and at the same time, they're rather glad when there's a war on, they need to send in the Scots. You know?
Your earliest memory?
Yes, someone asked me that yonks ago of my mum taking me in a pram, too small to walk properly, and in Dunfermline we called it the Glen. It's known as Pittentree Park, left by Andrew Carnegie to retire. And my earliest memory was a peacock came up and poked its neck in the pram, and I screamed my head off. It looked so scary. That do you?
Do you mind if I ask you about your tattoos on your
Yeah, this is all cover-ups. It's a cover-up as well. Got it black here as well and that all the way around.
So, it's quite a distinct sort of thing to have.
Yeah.
Particularly the cover up.
Yeah.
What inspired you on that particular?
Because a darker meaning and a more positive meaning to it. The darker meaning was just emptiness inside, and a positive meaning is just the emptiness is good, just to get rid of all the negative thoughts. So it goes both ways.
Well, qualities I really admire and hope for in people is empathy, respect, generosity. And the Dalai Lama said, be what you want, but be kind. The things I find rather sad, almost to the point of disgust, is greed and stupid selfishness and prejudice. I mean, mindless, thoughtless, ignorant prejudice. Very sad.
Well, the bin collections are appalling. The bins themselves are disgraceful, to the point where I think you're liable to get some infection off the bin. It's shocking. Other than that, I think revert back the way. It's very scary that the council are thinking about pedestrianising George Street.
Is that something you're not in favour of?
No, I am not.
So,
But the whole city's just a bit scruffy. But so are other places just now. It seems to be across the board.
do you believe in God?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yes, we're both elders of St Cuthbert's Church that lies at the end of the gardens. You know.
I came late to Christianity. I was following the teachings of Lao Tzu, the Taoist. and also Buddha. And I read the Dalai Lama's statement about you should try the religion in your own community and be part of it. If that doesn't work for you, then possibly try Buddhism or some other religion. Very, very generous in his way of putting it. So I thought, well, yes, I'll go along with Irene was going to church. I went along with Irene and learned a lot. And the teachings of the Lord Gautama Buddha and Jesus, it's all the same stuff. So I certainly do believe in God. And I know I'm going to get a real shock when if I were ever to meet you again, huh?
Do you know, these are the sort of questions I need time to think about. What's a miracle for a start?
Well, how would... I'll leave that definition for you.
I need time. I don't think I think it sounds a bit too much calling something a miracle. I've had surprises, I've had pleasant things, I've had not pleasant things, haven't we all?
I think morality comes from people being so socially conditioned or cultural controlled, and nobody can really think outside the box for themselves.
Do you know the thing that I'm least uncomfortable with? Driving in a car, and I don't do the driving. I get into a plane and flop down in my seat and fall asleep. Same with a train, ignoring that it's COVID still. But cars I'm a little uncomfortable with.
Have you ever driven? Have you been a driver before?
I had 2 provisional licenses in my teens and wasn't enjoying it. So I said to a friend of my parents, I'm really not enjoying it. He said, some of us are put on this world to be driven. I thought, that paid me.
Some of the royalists, like people everywhere, they're good and bad, and you know, they're okay.
I had no problem with the Queen and
No
Prince
problem with
Philip.
If we become, and hopefully we will become independent, it's about breaking up of the parliaments, not the crown. And I would rather imagine Princess Anne, who sings Flower of Scotland
Very-
or Merrifield. I think she should be the Queen of Scotland.
I think they would crown her Queen of Scotland. Certainly the rugby crown.
Have you ever found people judging you for your tattoos?
No, I'm not in people's minds, but not face to face when I see people. I think it's fine.
I mean, the longest I've lived overseas was a couple of months in Paris, but not really home.
Was that? Do you mind if I ask you about your experience in Paris? Was there any reason you were there? Were you just?
Well, I had good friends there, so I went to stay for a bit, and a bit turned out to be at least a month. It was dazzling. I had seen nothing like it then.
Is it, can I ask when that
What?
when was that?
60s.
60s. And have you been there more recently?
Yes.
Yeah, and do you think that's changed quite significantly?
Yes, but in the way everything else has changed, there seemed to be a wonderful time when everything was glam and chic and everyone was keen to work towards it. And the last time I was in Paris, I thought it's the same as Edinburgh is right now. A bit sad and a bit scruffy and etc.
And thank you very much for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
And it's something to talk about, isn't it?
Wait till I tell my friends.
Cool.